Warner Brothers and DC have a huge James Gunn problem. The director of Superman used the finale of Peacemaker to insult every Christian on the planet, connecting the German bad guys from World War II with Jesus of Nazareth. Now he's calling anyone who dares criticize him a terrible, awful name. What can David Zaslav, the head of Warner Brothers, do with a white-haired, unhinged, two-hit wonder gone totally insane with unrecoverable PR blunders? Hello, folks, and welcome back. It is a joy to have you on this Sunday morning. Welcome, one and all. It's time to heed the call for understanding entertainment, and James Gunn has become a huge, massive problem for DC. Yeah, when Fortnite has to remove the dance from Peacemaker because it refers to a symbol from World War II that's totally unacceptable, you got a problem with James Gunn because he's the one who's doing this stuff. And the things he's saying now have gone so far that, I'm sorry, folks, this guy should not be in charge of a franchise that puts Superman and Batman on backpacks and lunchboxes and all that. This guy's crazy. This guy is nuts. We're going to get into it. Folks, click the like button, and here we go. Out of thatparkplace.com, James Gunn's Peacemaker attacks Christians in offensive Earth X episode. The finale it is, and we're happy that it's over. James Gunn just can't help himself. Just days after calling fans racists, Rossos perhaps, in an interview with GQ, the latest episode of Peacemaker doubled down with a storyline that many are calling flat-out offensive, this time targeting Christians. In the new episode, Leota Adebayo and Judo Master discuss the alternate Earth setting known as Earth X, a fascist world where Germany won World War II and spread to all corners of the globe. It's a world where people of color, religious minorities, and gay individuals are persecuted. Judo Master warns, you don't want to be a minority here, or gay or Buddhist or anything I am really. Adebayo replies in disbelief, Jesus, Christ. Now she says that in a pejorative way. We're not going to say it that way. We would never do that here. But the response from Judo Master delivers the James Gunn punchline, oh, him they love. In other words, connecting Jesus Christ, with the evildoers in World War II. Now, folks, that's about as despicable a thing as we can come up with here on this channel. That is as anti-truth as you can be. Going to the religious figure who taught absolute love and truth and goodness and sacrifice, and billions of people look to Jesus as not only a source of divine inspiration, but literally the divine. And for James Gunn, Mr. Edgy himself down here, looks like a white-haired gnome in some ways. It's like a white-haired gnome had a baby with Colonel Sanders. I shouldn't be that way, but listen, this is not funny. And it's the destruction of a brand. And it gets worse. It really does. It gets worse because out of Slash Film by Quinn Billadieu, DC Studios head James Gunn has the perfect response to Rossist Peacemaker fans. Now, what's this talking about? It's talking about if you have a problem with that, if you think that's absolutely offensive and inappropriate, especially, Peacemaker is supposed to be this thing that you have to watch to understand Superman and the next Superman movie and Supergirl. These are movies made for kids to some degree. James Gunn doesn't, the guy is off his rocker. Here's the quote from James Gunn. He says, about the Peacemaker episode where they're taking on this idea of this alternate universe where the bad guys in World War II won. He says, we're like, let's not be bashful about this. Let's just do the story that we want to do, and I don't want to have to pull any punches with it. And it's interesting because there hasn't been that sort of, I have a few Rossas that have called me polarizing, but I'm okay with being polarizing and letting Rossas fall to the wayside. Now, do you understand what this guy is doing? In the aftermath of the Charlie Kirk situation, the kind of stuff he's saying is permission to harm, ladies and gentlemen. What he's doing is he's comparing Jesus to the most evil thing we can go back and we can debate what was the worst, right? Pol Pot, maybe? The situation in China during the last century. You want to talk about Stalin? But listen, it's way up there, and comparing Jesus to that. Wow. It's awful. It's awful. And then to say, if you don't like that, well, you're a racist for not liking that. This man is authoritarian in his venom. Something wrong with him. And I'm going to show you just how what kind of wrong there is in this man. And then I'm going to bring this into something very deep, I hope. Let's go to Hollywood Reporter. We're going to go back in the way, way back machine. And I mean, we're going way back. The article was written in 2023 by Aaron Couch and Boris Kitt, but it's referring to something far earlier. It says, James Gunn's Guardians, how Chris Pratt and his Marvel castmates rescued their director's career. Now, I'm going to go down to where we get back in 2018 when James Gunn had been canceled. He'd been let go by Disney because some stuff resurfaced from his past that, in hindsight now, given what he's saying, maybe he should not have been forgiven and brought back. Maybe not. Maybe this is who he is. But he was forgiven because he said that those things that were uncovered were a joke. Now, Pratt was the last guy that they needed to sign on to say, hey, Disney, we'd like to have James Gunn back. And it says, now Pratt was at church looking for solace. The sermon that day, again, back in 2018, involved the story of the Israelites circling the walls of Jericho for 7 days. On the seventh day, the Israelites shouted and the walls crumbled down, a tale of perseverance. Listening to the preacher, Pratt was struck with a sense of clarity for the first time since Gunn's dismissal. It says, in that moment, I was like, this is about James. James is going to get this. This is going to be okay. A few days earlier, folks, listen to this. A few days earlier, Pratt had taken the lead in organizing an open letter to Disney asking for Gunn to be reinstated. He turned to Kennedy family scion and his future mother-in-law, Maria Shriver, for guidance, producing drafts with the input of the rest of the cast to make sure they all contributed and signed it. If one person didn't sign it, then that becomes the story, says Sean Gunn, his brother. All the while, Chris Pratt was texting James Gunn verses from the Bible, including one from the book of James. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. So, Chris Pratt, when James Gunn was at his lowest, when he was at his lowest, Chris Pratt was sending him Bible verses. Yeah, I know, Christian Bible verses, right? Sending him Bible verses, encouraging him, forgiving him for what had been said, and leading the way with a hopeful redemption arc. And the way that James Gunn has rewarded Chris Pratt, who is an outspoken Christian, the way that James Gunn has rewarded Christians for that is to come out and compare them in this story, say they're beloved by, or Jesus is beloved by the worst people in history. What a horrifically bad thing to say. What a horrifically bad thing. Warner Brothers now has to deal with that. David Zaslav has to deal with this. This is unacceptable going forward, not only ethically, not only morally, but it's not going to work financially. This will fall apart. You know it. I know it. Superman's #1 in streaming right now on their little platform. So is Peacemaker. Yeah, the movie and the TV show. This will fall apart. This will fall apart. You can't do this kind of stuff. You can't be that depraved. You know, we see what's happening on Netflix right now. And I want to tell you something, okay? In case James Gunn is listening to this, and he's probably turned it off by now if he is, but I want to read you something. And I don't usually do this. In fact, I've never done this before. I'll read you something from the Bible that James Gunn seems to despise. At least that's what it seems like from that finale of Peacemaker, eh? John chapter 5, in this, verses 5 through 7, it talks about, and I'll share this with you so you can see it, out of Bible Gateway. It says, one who was there had been invalid for 38 years. Now, my understanding of that is it means that that person was ill in some way. When Jesus saw him lying there and learned that he had been in this condition for a long time, he asked him, do you want to get well? Now, I guess some people say the pronunciation that is invalid, a person who's just absolutely incapable of taking care of themselves, right? Well, Jesus asks him, do you want to get well? I'm not trying to do a Sunday school lesson for you folks. But what I want to do is I want to say, isn't that a curious thing that Jesus asked the ill man? Because you could say to yourself, well, of course, if you're ill, you want to be better. But that's not actually true. And it's one of the most profound things to read. And it's one of the things that I think about when I think about James Gunn. James Gunn was given a second lease on a career. Without Chris Pratt and his forgiveness and the Bible verses he was sending and that moment of grace that he realized inside the church and decided, I'm going to go to save the day for James Gunn. Without that, James Gunn doesn't have a career. James Gunn doesn't go and work at DC. James Gunn is a has-been, canceled. And James Gunn took that second chance and continued to not be well. You see where I'm going with that, folks? Some people don't want to be well, and you can wish them well, and you can hope that they'll be well. And you could, logic gets in the way, right? Because if you're a logical person, you can't understand, why would they not be logical? Why would they not do what's right? Who would come up with this kind of nastiness where you make these comparisons? Why would you do this? The answer is some people don't want to be well. They refuse it. They have a sickness, they have an illness, and they cling to it. I'm afraid that James Gunn is that way, and there's nothing that David Zaslav can do to rein him in, except let him go. And that's sad. It's similar to Jimmy Kimmel. You can't bring these people into rationality. They're not interested in it. They're interested in something entirely different. And until you recognize that, they will destroy your companies, your brands, your franchises again and again and again and again. This is not what I wanted for James Gunn. I celebrated him being hired by Warner Brothers. I wanted him to turn things around. I wanted him to figure this out. I wanted a success story for him. Unfortunately, now we're going in the opposite direction. And what David Zaslav and Warner Brothers have to figure out is, now that the good ending is gone, there's not going to be a good ending here. Watch and see, folks. James Gunn can't get it together. He's supposed to be making a franchise that sells Superman and Batman action figures and Wonder Woman action figures to little kids, mostly little boys. That's the job. That's what you do. And you inspire people. Instead, we're doing this stuff. Division. And after the Charlie Kirk situation, my gosh, as I said before, permission to harm. Because what are you doing? You're feeding into people now that Christians are associated with these guys. So if you see a Christian out there, you know what you do. You know what you should do to those people. Don't let them get in. You understand, folks. You understand. So there's no good story. There's no good ending coming for this. DC is going to have a huge problem. And what David Zaslav has to figure out now is, how do you wind this down with the least bad ending for James Gunn at DC? Could take years. Could take years. I don't know what the contractual obligations are. I don't know what the restraints are. But this could take years to get him out of there. But he's going to do damage as long as he's in there, because the real James Gunn is really out now. And it's not the one that Chris Pratt was hoping for. I wish it was. I wanted it to be so. But unfortunately, the man has betrayed Chris Pratt and all the others who came to bat for him to save the day when he was down and out, when they were digging the grave for his career. And his response is to spit on that and say, this is what I'll be, and this is what I'll do. Peacemaker. No, that's not the title it should be. Folks, that is the video for this morning. I hate to be so dire, but sometimes you have to take people to task. This is one of the most atrociously bad mishandlings of a franchise and reprehensible things to say at one of the most inappropriate times to say it. And we have to take James Gunn to task on that. There's no other possible way to handle it than to say, you're so far out of line, they need to figure out how to let you go and let you go as quickly as they can. What a sad situation. What a sad thing. Boy, we needed a strong and hopeful and optimistic and good and virtuous DC taking on Marvel. Boy, we needed that. That's not what's going to be. Folks, click the like button, share, subscribe, click it, stick to the algorithms. It is the notification bell. Drop a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts. And until the next time, we have the honor, the joy, the pleasure, the privilege, and the responsibility of sitting down and spending time with you. Keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun.
Oh.
What are you doing?
Well, you see, I wanted to get some inside scoops on Disney and their, different corporations, if you know what I mean. So I figured, by looking into this fistbowl and sucking it randomly with my own energy that I paid for, you paid for, I could do the whole experience where you can be a master and spy on your targets.
You're an idiot. If you want to get the inside scoop on Disney, or even other media organizations, you should check out thatparkplace.com and subscribe to WDW Pro's YouTube channel. That'd be way easier, more accurate, and, less dumb.
Are you saying I won't get accurate information this way?
No, you can't.
Who'd have think?